Hey everyone, welcome into One Resource Floating. I am the 86. Thank you guys for joining us this week. Down below in our comments, you will find the link to the Discord, which you can join and have fun conversations. Also, you'll see a bell and a subscribe button. Feel free to click those. That would be great and help out the channel a ton. Thank you guys very much and hope you enjoy. Hello everyone, welcome into One Resource Floating, where today we're going to explore the difference between Blitz and Classic Constructed. I've played a few people lately that have been playing Blitz games, and they are they're not wanting to try CC because they really can't get it. In Blitz, they can win games, they can top 8 each skirmish, but really going into CC, they are someone who just can't get it and can't figure out why. And maybe you're someone who's in CC and you can't figure out Blitz. But today we're going to talk about that, what you need to do for both, and we'll go from there. So the first thing you need to understand, and you probably understand this already if you're watching this video, Constructed has 40 health, Blitz has 20 health. And then you have more cards in Constructed and less cards in Blitz. So everything you have, equipment, weapons, cards in your deck, your health, think of that as a resource. In Constructed, you have more resources to work with, more resources to play around. In Blitz, you have less resources to manage. You're investing a little bit, so you need to realize that you need to make this 20 health and these 40 cards work the best they can, rather than this 80 cards and this 40 health. So one, you need to invest in one and progress it. It's a lot easier to invest in the 40 cards and develop it into combating 20 health than you are into 80 cards and combating 40 health. So going off of that, let's talk about the two game styles that you might see. There's aggressive and there's control. Aggressive, or aggro, is going to be someone who's just sending out damage. Classic aggro examples are going to be the Talishar or the rifle with dash, the boost dash, so to speak. And then Rune Blades, I think, are going to fit into the aggro category. Control, the most obvious thing that I can say is frostbites. They are something that is controlling how the match plays out, how much you spend. Maybe you have a good amount of them, and because of that, you can only play one thing out of your hand. So control is something that is taking the tempo, changing it to something that is more your liking. And most of these decks will have things that are aggressive or aggro and control. There are cards that fulfill both slots. However, a character will likely, in the way you have your deck set up, the engine of your deck, the engine of your hero, and how you play it, may lean more one to the other. And let's talk about how heroes operate and what we can do with each of those. So the first thing we're going to talk about, let's talk about going into Rangers, Azalea. Azalea is someone who really loves the red in the ledger. If you can get it dominated, great. That is going to make it so the opponent only takes one action during their turn. This sets up a scenario where even if you have 4 or 5 cards, well, you've got one thing to do. If you're playing against a dash, they've loaded their pistol, boom, done. They can't do anything more. They can't fire it. They can't send damage. They have to decide one thing that is worth it to do in that scenario. Lo and behold, she also has the dominate keyword on her arrow. So if you get red and ledger, dominate. If you throw in some things like read the glide path, helps you fulfill that dominate ability. Seek and destroy, you're really going to get rid of all the cards that the other person has, so they can't keep anything in arsenal. They can't set up that defense reaction in arsenal to really combat your red in the ledger. So that's another good thing. Control tool. Memorial ground, you take that red in the ledger, put it right back in, and make some more work out of it. Seek horizon, put a card from your hand on top of your deck. Boom, so you turned on red and ledger, dominate, as long as you have a card in your arsenal. So Azalea coming in is someone who is really heavy on control, and you know, she is kind of the meme hero right now, and a lot of people are like, LOL Azalea, ha ha ha. But to be honest. If you play against an Azalea that red and ledgers you every turn, it doesn't feel great at all. Even against like a Briar or Fi, and I'm convinced that she is an excellent matchup against Fi, because if you just get stuck and you have 10 damage coming your way, dominated, and you can only take one action your next turn, if that comes in, 4 or 5 times, you're dead. There's nothing Fi's going to do to get out of that. You're really going to have some defense reactions, some instance Oasis respite to really combat that. So Azalea is someone who I think is good at control. A lot of the arrows coming in, especially even talking to Lexi, they have on hit effects. And a lot of people think of Lexi and they're like, well, she has a control aspect. She can do frostbites. She has the her ability and the fused arrows, etc. But it really seems like it's aggro with Voltaire. You just want to fling out as many arrows as possible. All of those arrows have on hit effects that are pretty detrimental, unless the arrow comes right back to your hand. If you do a Chilling Ice Vein, they're gonna discard a card or pay a resource. So all of a sudden you're coming in for 5. Okay, well I'll block 3. Well, you know what? I'm gonna have to discard a card anyway, so let's just block it with 2 cards. Well, the next thing also has that Chilling Ice Vein effect on it, so let's block that with 2 cards. Now I don't have any cards in hand, so you just controlled someone to get rid of all their hand, and then if you had 2 arrows in arsenal, or if you have 2 more attacks left, then you're starting off with, okay, here's what I need to do. Boom, free arrow hit. On hit, doesn't matter what it is. Was it a sleep dart? Was it anything else? That's going to hit. That's going to do damage. If you do a bolt and shot, and you get reload off that, unless they blocked it with some equipment, then you come up with another arrow that has an on-hit effect and doesn't really feel good. So setting up that control is really where Lexi is going to shine, I think. There are plenty of aggro builds with Voltaire, and I'm not discounting those at all. But since you're causing someone to block, guess what? If you're throwing that many attacks and it's not just the damage causing them to block, you're probably playing a little bit of control. So that's one thing I'm going to say to Lexi is she has a big control aspect. Azalea they both do. And I think that is not a reason to shy away from them, that they're not strictly aggro heroes. I'm a control Lexi player, so bear with me. Talking about some of the ninja classes, we can talk about Benji has the ability. Benji's really just stupid aggro. His control is going to be, I really don't want this to hit, so I'm just going to block it all out. But you can't block a lot of his attacks, so you just got to wait for a Spring Tidings to come in and just pray. Going into Katsu and Phi and everything else, Mask of Momentum is an excellent control tool. You have to realize, okay, well, I am sitting here. This is going to be a situation where if I let this hit, if I let this attack action card hit, they're going to have another card. Can they do a combo based off that? Same with Aura. You get a card. If I come in with Whirling Mist Blossom, well, I might scare someone to I want to block with 2 cards, so you can't razor it. There's also a mind game there that you really need to think. You're not just playing control with cards, but you're saying that I really don't want this on hit. Like this Salt in the Wound, I have a constant fear that this is going to hit. If I have Mask of the Pouncing Lynx, you have a scenario, you're set up to bring that out at any time. And if someone comes through and takes, 7 attack action cards, then you can search for that Salt in the Wound. You're essentially forcing someone, they have a stigma, they may know what you have in your deck. You're playing a mind game. You're figuring out, okay, well, I can do this to you. Don't block any of these attacks. I just attacked you 7 times. You took all of it. Okay, I'm going to get Salt in the Wound and send it at you for 9. But once you use that mask, once Salt in the Wound is gone, or 3 of them, however many the other person may think you have, that threat is out of there. They're going to do whatever they can. So you can play control with your mind games a little bit. And I think that is a very good thing to do. Any character can play mind games with their control options. I may bring that up a little bit as we go on. Talking about Bolton and the Warriors, man, I don't really know what I want to say about Bolton. Bolton had an excellent kind of control mechanic and making charge, and really he emphasized, I don't want you to block with these attack action cards. And that has kind of changed the way the meta has really switched since. A little bit in Tails, definitely since Everfest. He doesn't have the ability that he used to have to kind of keep up with aggro. So right now, Raiden Bolton is definitely falling short. I think Saber Bolton is the one that is really pushing forward at the moment, but it's still trailing a lot behind. His on hits, he's not really going to have a lot. We can talk more about Dorinthia and her control options. So she's going to swing the sword each time. Great. Taking a weapon. Great. Where control is going to come in with her, she has a way to punish you for blocking. You're going to block with one card. You're going to block 3. Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to block with this 0 cost attack reaction that has reprise. And that means if you block with a card from hand, then it gets +3. So now my attack hits anyway. And you're done. And I'll swing the blade again. So Dorinthia can do that. She's a bit vicious because in CC, it just ends up being a damage race with her. And Blitz, it's very close. You can kind of control the tempo because you get those counters on and you keep them. In CC at the moment, you can get to a spot where you have, okay, I've emptied her hand, but she's coming in with like 8. I'm just going to block everything out. Or I know she can't go above this amount, and then I'll reset her. So you're essentially deciding, I have the health that I can block everything, they reset back to 3, and then we go forward. So that is one way to combat Dorinthia. Sorry, Dorinthia players, I just gave up your secret. But Dorinthia is really going to suffer if she uses her equipment to block early. That means she's just going to have cards in her hand, so go after her hand, control her hard. Any other warriors I'm thinking to add up right now? No, I'm not gonna touch Dynasty yet, but he'll be here. Kasai really doesn't have a constructed counterpart, so I'm not gonna really touch Kasai. Probably I shouldn't have touched Ira too much, or Benji. Mechanologist, we won't talk about Data Doll, but going into Dash, control, keeping the pace of the game, that is something that Pistol Dash does. You get the items out, you block, you set up essentially, and then you come in with this pistol and you deal 4 damage 4 times. So, okay, do I block this? No. Do I block this? No. Do I block this? Yes. Do I block this? Yes. You're essentially putting someone in a position where, okay, I need to get rid of this many cards or take this much damage. There's nothing I can do about this, and this is a constant. That is really good. The problem with Control Dash is it needs to set up, and it needs time. And the game right now, at this moment, does not afford that. Boost Dash, or you might see it with the Rifle or Talishar, is going to be a lot more aggro-focused or aggressive-focused, and come into this spot where, okay, I get Combustible Courier, it's coming in for 4. If it hits, though, the next thing gets +3. Well, I can block this 4 with 2 cards, which doesn't really feel great. But if I just block 3 of it, the next thing is going to get +3. So it really, in the end, is going to be the same thing. Doesn't feel great at all. Don't come in with a Combustible Courier for 2. Just don't do it. Action the Goliath Gauntlet on it or something. Tekla Pounder it. But yeah, come in, make sure you realize like how you can put the control into the aggro, and that is going to be something that is really key. Coming in, all the Rune Blades, man, all the Rune Blades. Briar, Viscerai, they're all going to be aggro. There's not really the control aspect of that would be the fact that if someone plays a red Mavrian Skies, they're coming in with an attack that has 4 go again, and they create 3 rune chance. The control aspect there is, well, if you take 4 damage, I'm going to make 3 rune chance. Or if you take 1 damage, I'm going to make 3 rune chance. And in the end, you got to think like, okay, well, it's not really that 4 and 3 rune chance. It's just he's coming in for 4 and then if he hits, he's going to make 3 more. So if I actually block it or overblock it, technically the difference, if I block a 4 coming in with 3 rune chance, if I block one of that, if I block 3 of it, sorry, take 1, then I'm going to take 4 damage total. If I block 2 of it, stop 3 rune chance, then I'm actually taking 1 damage less total. Are they coming in with a blue Mauvrian, a yellow Mauvrian? There are all kinds of things on there. There are some cards that you can think of, like there's one if it's dealt arcane damage that turn. Volition, just consuming volition. I gotta get the name of it and get it up there. I'm sorry, but if you dealt arcane damage this turn, it's discard a card if it hits. Coming into that, there are some great control cards that Rune Blades have, but typically you're going to see them be part of the aggro package. Going in, let's talk about Jermai. Jermai is someone that is going to be heavy control. She's going to set up things. She needs you to be distracted by her Ash Wings. She could change a lot in Dynasty, and that's kind of the hope. Right now, she's very defensive. She works for the second cycle. She's going to block everything. She's going to set up with all the ashes that she needs, and then go to second cycle and realize, okay, here's a spot. They're out of the reds. They're out of what they could do. Let's start wailing on them with dragons. So they summon dragons, and they come at you. In the meantime, at the beginning of the match, they might send some big phantasm attacks your way. But I think at this moment, I've mostly seen Jermai's make Ash, and then second cycle, they will respond. Prism is an excellent source of this. And yes, she's hit Living Legend. We don't really need to talk about her too much. But Prism is someone who didn't perform well on Blitz. And that's because that there are a lot of big attackers on Blitz. If you think Oldham and everything else essentially deals a lot of damage. Well, Phantasm Poppers exist. So everyone has a Command and Conquer, a Nourishing and Blitz, or any type of big attack. An E-Strike. So they come in, pop your attack, use Footsteps, you come in with another attack, I pop it. My turn, I have 2 cards to do something with. I can attack you, and then you have to block, and that puts you at a disadvantage for coming in my turn. The thing with Constructed Prism and how she set up a little better was the fact that she could play auras. So auras essentially had to be the target of an attack, and they would suffer the fate of taking your action point, which is very horrible for them. Just kidding, it's very horrible for you. If you were someone that had go again, the action point would be gone. The way the wording is resolved, the way the wording is, go again is the last thing on the card that resolves. So when you subject something to an attack, so something with Spectra, that card immediately is, Spectra's destroyed, that card does not resolve. So go again does not resolve on the card. So you really need the action point to come in. That way when you destroy an aura, you could get to go again as well. Prism would just take her time, set up with auras, attack you for 1, attack you for 1, attack you for 1. Well, maybe about the start, she plays 1 or 2 auras per turn, and then all of a sudden, you're like down the road, and you realize, between Spectral Shields and everything else, she has about 10 auras out. She's attacking you for maybe 5 instances of 1, and maybe you don't care. And then it turns to 7 instances of 1, and maybe you care a little bit more, and then it turns to 10. Well, you can start killing auras off, but then you're not going to deal any damage to Prism. And Prism, essentially, 1 becomes a lethal number at some point. You're sitting there taking 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, and all of a sudden you're at 1 health, and you're just like, okay, I'm going to block 1, block 1, block 1, block 1, using equipment, okay, I'm dead. So Prism was really oppressive in that aspect. A lot of heroes that went wide could do a little better with Prism because they wouldn't be in a position where they could hit Prism over and over and over and over, and then you just hit an aura. And that's really what you needed to do. Going in off that, let's talk about the wizard class. Icelander is going to be someone who is very control centered. She does not have, let's be honest, at this point, Icelander is not going to deal 10 damage to you right off the gate. She can set up and she could probably deal 20 damage to you when she's set up, but not going to be someone who combats an aggro setting very well. She needs to do frostbites. If you get the frost X's out, that's going to help your control aspect, because someone doesn't want to expend cards from hand if you're going to give them frostbites. Oh, you just played all your cards from hand, I'm going to give you an Ice Eternal, and that's going to deal 4 arcane damage. But then I have, and create 4 frostbites. But I also have 3 frost X's on you, so really you're going to take 16, or 3 frost X's, so you're going to take 16 damage. 1 from the Ice Eternal, 3 sets from the frost X's. So it's in a situation where it gets really, really hard to deal with. A lot of her better cards, like the Aether Ice Vein, discard if it hits. You're coming into a situation and you really understand what do I need to watch out for, and it's never going to be, oh, she deals a ton of damage just out of the blue right off the get-go, right from the gate. It's going to be, once she sets up, she's going to be lethal. Kano. Man, Kano. I have so many things I want to say about Kano. Kano can really be both. Aggro, yes, Kano's had that turn 1, turn 0 KO on a Starvo before. They didn't bring Arcane Barrier. Kano is kind of interesting because he can do both. He's aggro and he's control. He really needs to control how you play with it, mind games. I'm saying he's controlled because if you keep a card left, you're going to deal with them. If you expend all your cards, then you're going to take the full brunt of Zaraf. He is a very interesting hero right off the get-go to decide in this. And he starts at 30 health. He's really weak. You can gun him down. Don't give him time to set up if you're going to be aggro into him. If you're going to be control into him, realize that he's going to take that time to set up. So you need to be patient as well. That's really all I can say about Kano. Brute. Reiner and Olivia. They're gonna be straight aggro. They're gonna be some RNG stuff. Yeah, I could really. There's stuff I could say about control, and there are definitely control cards out there, like, and they put control things into their deck, like Pummel, Swing Big. Essentially, you're setting up that, like, I want this turn to happen. I'm gonna do this, or you're gonna discard cards. But really, with the Intimidate feature, everything, unless they're discarding cards from your hand, they're gonna be straight aggro. Olivia, man, she's gonna be aggro too. And Blood Debt going against her, not great. But I think the best levies at the moment haven't really dabbled in Blood Debt. Let's see, who else haven't I talked about that is in both? I think we hit everyone today. Talked about Lexi and Azalea. Did we talk about the Brute class? I didn't talk about Kano. I think I don't know if I talked about Oldham a bunch when I talked about Bravo, but essentially Oldham has the same thing. He can be very control focused, just block everything out. Oak and Old to discard for cards from your hand. Pummels. They come in with a Frost Fang, then that's going to be, if you don't block it off, then that's, discard a card or pay 2 resources. And then he can pummel it. And he's really at a spot to kind of control the match. And he deals a ton of damage while he's doing it. So an excellent spot for that. Don't play Oldham. No, just kidding. Well, actually, no, I'm not kidding. Don't play Oldham. I'm a Ranger player. I don't like Guardians. Just kidding. Guardians are okay sometimes. But yeah, that's it. I did this recording a few times today. With that, I definitely missed Bravo on this one because I thought I talked about him, even though I kind of did earlier that day. But this recording, I did not talk about him. So let's talk about Bravo. Bravo is going to be someone who pushes out a lot of control. while maintaining a lot of damage. And that's kind of key for the Guardian class. Crippling Crush is something that discards cards from hand. You have Spinal Crush, which takes out Go Again. You know, disable Crush Confidence. There are all kinds of things to disrupt your abilities, all while dealing damage to you. So it forces you into a control type matchup. And I think Bravo is also going to hold his spot. You know, obviously he's outshone by Oldham, but he's definitely not someone to shy away from in Blitz. And that's the main thing with the heroes is control is definitely going to set up better in CC and do a lot better if you have time to set up. So that larger health pool helps you set up versus Blitz. You're just really aggroing someone down and hoping their life goes to 0 before that chance happens. So Bravo, Command and Conquer, Stamp Authority. I realize Command and Conquer is a generic, but it's good for Bravo to run. Crippling Crush. There's all the Crush suite. Like everything with Crush on it is essentially has some type of control. So Tear Asunder, all types of good cards. So yeah, back to the video. But yeah, that's it. Let me know what you think, what's different. And yeah, I will gladly catch you on the next video and we'll go from there. Thank you. Hope this was a good insight to setting up like how these heroes work differently with, you know, what's control, what's aggro. You know, coming in aggro, one thing I maybe mentioned, and I maybe didn't mention it, you're setting up, like if you're Lexi and you're sending 4 arrows at someone and they're ripping their hand, or maybe you're someone else that's, you know, sending a bunch of arrows or sending a bunch of attacks, didn't have to be arrows, and it's someone that's just blocking it out the whole time. You're also in a way controlling the match because you're putting someone in a position where they don't want to take that damage unless, you know, that is their goal. Maybe they're controlling by blocking everything out. And that's just something that really, the terms and how they're played out are loosely fulfilled. But going in and establishing what you're going to do, what's going on, you know, in Blitz, you're mostly going to see those aggro decks. You're going to go from 20 to 0. For Constructed, your health you can fall back on. It's like, well, you know what? If I take this Crippling Crush and I lose 2 cards, I'm going to be down 10 damage. But, you know, I still have these 2 cards, which are going to deal 10 more back to them unless they block out some stuff. And then they have cards out of their hand, and they can't do as much to me on the next turn, and then we'll see how everything goes. Yeah. So understanding control, aggro, and how it affects you, how it can play out in CC, how it can work to your advantage in Constructed, how it can work to your advantage in Blitz, and same with control. How does it, you know, feel and affect everything over here versus how is it something that is very prominent in Blitz. And I think right now in Blitz, the control isn't very powerful. Yeah, there's Icelander controls in Blitz, but they really need to set up and get going right from the start. But they can do that and realize where you can inject control into your aggro. But yeah, that's it. That's one resource flooding this week, Blitz versus CC, and understanding how heroes play differently in each. Feel free to leave a comment. Let us know what you're doing to get through control a match, or maybe you just want to deal damage. You don't care. You just want the numbers to go from 40 to 0, or maybe 20 to 0. That's all that really matters to you. Let me know what you guys are doing, and thank you. Have a good one.